A ranger's glove brushed leaves aside and turned up a camera lens the size of a silver dollar, half buried in damp earth. The glass held a ring of morning light and a smudge of fresh soil that shouldn't have been there, not after all those winters and all that rain. No sound in the trees, just breath in the cold and the feeling that someone had set this down for us to find. Before I go any further, tell me where you're listening from and tap subscribe if you think every buried truth deserves daylight. Most mornings back then, I woke before the sun and checked the thermometer that hung outside my kitchen window. Thin red line, hovering in the low 40s, the type of fall chill that sharpened the air without bending you in half. Far off, the Cascades came up like a dark wall, and if the wind was right, you could hear the Skagit River moving steady as a clock. You don't have to wind. I'd dress in flannel, pour coffee into a travel mug, and drive the 3 miles into town. The tires hummed on wet pavement cedar and wood smoke, threading in through the vents. A simple life works like that: same road, same table by the diner window, same faces framed in steam and laughter. Marble Mount isn't one of those places you pass through by accident. You mean to be here, or you don't get here at all. We have a grocer who knows what kind of apples you like without you telling him, and a mechanic who can hear a bad belt from 20 feet. At the far end of town, tucked behind a stand of alder and a chain-link gate, sat the small building where I'd logged permits and radio traffic for a career and a half. Even retired, I still stopped by a few mornings a week to help the younger staff set up weather sheets and check the backup batteries. Old habits like tidy desks and charged radios die slow. That October carried the kind of light only fall can manage: low gold and clear enough to make you notice your breath. It was the week the salmon hit the shallows like rusted coins flipped into a fountain. Tourists kept to the wide overlooks. Locals paused on the bridge railings and grew quiet. You learn a town by the way it goes still. For certain things, a fish run the first hard frost the day someone's kid ships off the hour the phone rings too late. The film crew eased into that rhythm without disturbing it. Blake came in first. I knew his folks from church potlucks and rummage sales from casseroles left in foil when babies came, or surgeries healed slow. He carried his height like he was careful not to knock things over polite, to the point he'd wait for a nudge to sit down. He told me they were doing a nature documentary.
Board pulled free from the living room wall, dust lifting in the air like old breath, and a blackened box wedged in the cavity where insulation should have been. The latch fought us. When it finally gave, a leather book slid forward soft with mildew and years, the initials faint. JH and a line scrawled in darker ink across a ledger page that felt warm from my hands. They know. Stop using the lodge. Before I go any further, let me know where you're listening from, and share this if you believe remembering is the first step toward justice. Before any of that, before the box and the ledger and the words that turned my stomach, I lived a plain, steady life 2 hours south on I-35. I kept hours at the community college archives in San Antonio, filing grants in the morning, cataloging local newspapers in the afternoon. I knew where every reel of microfilm sat, and which decades smelled more like basement than history. Tuesday evenings were for laundry and a pot of chili set low. Saturday mornings for running a cloth over my grandmother's old sideboard until the wood showed its honey again. I liked trains at night, the way the sound carried across the Mission Reach when the air cooled into the 70s, and I liked how the light from my neighbor's porch fell in a neat rectangle that never crossed into my yard. It was a life of edges that stayed put. When I was 17, those edges still belonged to Hollow Creek. The hill country has a way of pretending things don't change. Limestone holds heat, then lets it go in a sigh around dusk. Deer stand where the gravel road bends, daring your headlights to blink first. In October of 1997, we were in one of those dry stretches where the river ran just low enough to show polished stones, and the cedar smell rode the air like a thin resin. My mother kept her kitchen window cracked to let that smell in. A church bulletin lay on the counter under a magnet shaped like a cow. Supper was pork chops and